I'm Darl Kolb. I'm a professor in the Graduate School of Management at the University of Auckland. I've been using the MikesBikes simulation for about 15 years now. Used it for many years as an undergrad capstone experience, and more recently using it in an international master's degree program. I guess as a student I always learned best by doing things and trying things. I also happen to have a master's degree in experiential education, so the principles and foundations of the simulation are absolutely a fit with my philosophy of education, which is learning by doing. Well, the value of the simulation is that it provides students experience, and then that experience can be reflected upon, and the reflection can add content and understanding. So in a way, in my courses, the simulation is the core activity, and around that we put the other sort of learning events. We've put it right at the center of the design, so it begins early on and runs right through the course. So there's really no separation, it's intertwined. I know that some people prefer to run them as kind of episodes or a phase of the course, which could also make sense. But for me, it's part of the course design. Therefore, the students are getting oriented to the simulation just as they're oriented to the course. The assessments are very much intertwined with simulation stages, and then we wrap up with the simulation ending when the course ends. We think a good system of doing that. We put people into New Zealand markets, so local markets, and they compete in 3 rounds of the simulation, not as single, so they do the single player to just get oriented as if they have work experience to get this executive role we're going to give them, and that metaphor sort of holds up. So they have to achieve a $25 share value, could be any notional amount, but it means that everyone knows the simulation dashboards and the way it works. Then they're into a company, and when their company starts performing, we give them 3 practice rounds, so they get to see the full NetMike experience, but they also get to restart and have another go in a different market. So we have this stage beginning that helps people come to grips with the complexity and the sort of depth of the simulation. I think they're a bit intimidated at first. It seems big. I've taught it mostly pre-MBA experience level, so the depth of the simulation I think is pretty clear and gets them a bit. Although the dashboard and the ease of use also puts them at ease. Most get more excited when the competition starts and they actually realize they can do okay, and then we're away. So it's a bit daunting for them at first, and then I think they become more comfortable. But rarely does a team ever get too complacent or cocky. I've never seen a team that felt they knew it so well that they could dominate, because there's just a lot to know in the simulation. To me, the reward is partly I'm building a course the way I like it to be built. So I mean, I like the experiential element, and this allows me to get it in there. It also helps take the pressure and focus off me. I obviously do my job, my role, but the real simulation is around the student's experience, and so I feel there's less about my lecturing and my tutorial support, etc. And I find that shift is quite rewarding. I see that they're having their MikesBikes experience, and it's actually not my experience, it's theirs. Well, I can't think of any other way to talk about the whole of business or the whole of management that would be that would move beyond talk to actually letting people see what that's like. So to have to make decisions and to have to work in a team and to actually have to perform as a company, it's really the only way to understand how business works or how management actually works. And therefore, it provides a structure to put lots of other topics around, and that structure is our friend. You know, I think that's the other thing. The simulation has a natural life to it, and therefore, the course has a life to it, and that I think is appealing. And the other thing is if you're around and do it for many years on end, it stays fun and refreshing. I think I've taught courses without simulations, of course, and keeping them fresh, keeping them new and different is a challenge. And this, I think, keeps the course fresh and new every year. If I were to explain the use of simulation like Mike's Bikes, in my case, to another colleague who's never done anything like it, I would say that you could go out and do a lot of research to find any number of online or book-based simulations. But the difference is that there's a lot of work to design a really good, effective in-class learning experience, and we know that. And to build something that has the complexity and the extent of depth that Mike's Bikes has would be just impossible for a professor. And so the fact that it's there and well supported allows that to happen on its own, kind of in the background, and then I do my thing in the foreground in the classroom, what I want to add to the experience. And that way I find it a great supportive sort of teaching tool. My approach to using Mike's Bikes is that it's a chance for students to, actually a chance to fail. And you might seem bizarre, but students actually do like environments where there's a winner and a loser, but also the key point is that the students who have teams that struggle often learn the most. And I've had companies that have struggled at the bottom of my class stock report, but they've turned their company around, or at the end they've often said how much they learned by being challenged that way. And then companies in the middle of the pack, as it were, also have an opportunity to realize that they're not as good as they could be, but they're struggling and still learning a lot in that position. So every team learns. It isn't just the winning team, and that also I think is one of the nice things about a competitive simulation environment that students, especially in business, really enjoy and respond to. The other thing is I don't think it's too much to suggest that over the years I've taught lots of students in lots of contexts, but it's really true that most students talk about Mike's Bikes when they see me. They remember that much more than anything else, even about my teaching. They remember the simulation and what they did, and they do it with me, of course. But that's what they point out when I run into our alumni out there in the world. So I believe the outcome of something that's as real as Mike's Bikes is that you get genuine confidence as a learning outcome. So I've heard of students who've told me that they've been in interviews with the big four accountant firms, for example, and they're asked, have you ever worked in a team? And of course the question is a good one for professional services, and the answer comes with the real confidence that yes, I've worked in a business team that will be very similar to what I'll have to do in the firm. So that kind of confidence is hard to come by and hard to come up with in traditional education settings. And I think the real experience that they get comes through as real confidence in the end. And I've often said that's what you see, at the end of the course, you see them talking with pride and confidence and all the kind of emotional sort of outcomes that come with having fought hard to be where they are. And regardless of what that outcome is, they know they've had to work hard to get it, and that really comes through. We're also amazed with this master's program, just to tell you how powerful it was. Because of my background, having run the sim, I was given free range to use the sim in the taught masters, but it was still quite unknown who the students would be and whether it would work. About 1 month into it, we had our first board meeting, a simulation role play, and the director, the associate deans, all these folks came into the role play as directors with me, and they were struck by how far our students had come in understanding the whole of business concept in 4 weeks of their master's program in another country. So it was profound and gave us great confidence that this was, in my case now, is the orientation course for the program. It's a great lead-off course, just as it can be a great capstone course. And I think positioning of the simulation might be something that should be thought about in terms of design. And I've seen it at both ends, as a capstone and as a boot camp beginning course as well.